Not only the idea of expressing something through art, but art as a powerful vehicle for shaping the world. We have Jason with us now. He is on the Deconstruction team. Some might say the captain, although he kind of resists whenever we try to give him credit for anything. So this is kind of his brainchild. So why don't we start by what is the Deconstruction deconstructing?
That's an interesting question. The deconstruction is sort of deconstructing itself. I mean, the deconstruction at its core is this 48-hour creative event, and we call it a competition because there's not really a better word for it, but it's really kind of an uncompetition. And the idea is to just get people around the world rethinking themselves and their surroundings and objects that are right in front of them and ideas that are around them and creating something new out of those. And the event does it every year as well. We think the event every time, and no deconstruction is the same, which is fun and maddening.
Yeah, so this idea of looking at something that's been in front of us the whole time and rethinking it, like taking maybe notions that we'd always taken for granted and actually looking at them maybe for the first time in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you really don't realize what's right in front of you or right around you until you sort of step back. You know, you take so many things for granted in this world, whether they're like objects in your house or materials or even just like what you do and what you think about and how you approach the world. And I don't know, kind of see this as like a little bit of a holiday to kind of step back from your regular life and the way you usually see things and kind of look differently at them.
A holiday to look differently at our everyday life. I like that. So, I mean, I guess there's something to be gained by reassessing what's right in front of us is kind of what you're trying to get at, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot to be gained. I mean, there's material that you never thought was material. There's the ability to do things that you never thought that you could do if you just sort of like reapproach the process a little bit. I don't know, in some ways what the event's about is just to try that thing and use the resources around you and sort of, you know, what already exists to try to see that picture.
Yeah, because maybe the solution to a lot of problems have been sitting in front of us the whole time, but we just don't see them because we're so caught up in a certain way of doing things. Yeah,
absolutely. Most of the time they are.
Yeah, we spend so much time trying to get new stuff to solve our problems rather than just like looking at what we already have, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the whole thing kind of came out of like these sort of experiments that friends and I would do during the recession when none of us were working and none of us had any money and we just had like a bunch of junk around, and we would sort of have these like little kind of competitions of like what we can make with what was just sitting around at the house and what new stuff that we could create. And, you know, one, it was a really fun way to hang out with friends and have a great weekend activity. And two, it was like a way to, you know, get through some hard times and have some joy at the end of it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, through this event, you've inspired so many people to, you know, put aside 48 hours and look at the world in a fresh way again. Have these teams in turn inspired you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the only reason
that's why you do it.
We do this whole thing. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's the idea of like wanting to do this project, but the reason that we keep doing it is because the teams are so inspiring, and you know, the people that we've met over the past 2 days are amazing, you know, and folks that you would have never kind of, you know, run into, and you know, there are these like beautiful like common themes, you know, through all of them, you know, all these like kind of diverse like people that we've talked to, you know, whether they're the speakers who have like done really notable things, or you know, or the teams that are like kind of, you know, trying to realize new things. Yeah.
And we're all finding each other.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the internet experiment part of it. And, the internet is a total pain in the ass. Internet.
It's true.
Looking at you, internet.
Yeah. It's always hard to know where to point at when you're talking to the internet.
Looking at you, internet. And we've, had some beautiful moments of internet working and some really frustrating moments of internet not working and technology not working. But it's a good thing, no matter how frustrating it could be, because it does allow you to come together with people on the other side of the planet in a way that was just never possible. It's almost like when you see birds flying in formation in some weird way. There's like all these people doing this thing and, connected through this kind of messaging in the ether, which is actually kind of scary too if you think too much.
And it's definitely one of these galvanizing forces for this maker movement, as some people are calling it. But I feel like the deconstruction, the format of it allows for it kind of to stretch beyond this idea of making, which often nowadays implies some kind of like hardware hacking, work with materials that put stuff together. It's like we are having teams that are working on much more of a conceptual level sometimes with, you could in theory do anything with this, right? It doesn't need to be like, you don't need to be in a hackerspace to participate.
Yeah, and that's really been kind of like the big recent experiment with the event. It sort of started off at its core kind of a maker type thing where, fabrication, hardware hacking, carpentry, all that kind of stuff. But, when we did the event last year, some of the final submissions, were intangible and brilliant. And real kind of art pieces, and it really got us thinking like, this doesn't really necessarily need to be about physically making things. It's really just about like the creative process and bringing something new into this world, whether it's a performance or a piece of art or a song or or a physical object. It's all the same process, and it all feels the same when it happens.
Right. So as this, moves forward into coming years, other than smoothing out technical difficulties, which will happen, like you're talking about the internet, being defiant and whatnot, how else do you hope to see this evolve? What do you, where's that space between what we have now and your vision of what this could be?
I'm really kind of interested in kind of collaborative events or collaborative sort of like uncompetition type things where, now we've got all these different teams working on different projects, all over the place. But what if everybody's kind of like working on a project together and working on their own projects but like it all becomes part of one project. So, one thing that we really wanted to try and we're still going to kind of try at the end of this event is this kind of around the world, around the nation, possibly around the Bay Area, Rube Goldberg type thing, where we're doing a project that would be linked up with another team who's doing a project, and basically like these successional projects would happen, but it's all part of one big project. The technology is definitely makes it possible now. What we can do now with the event and the technology is significantly more powerful than when we started playing around with it 2 years ago.
And so next year and the following year it will continue to evolve because of technological allowances. And it sounds like you're kind of getting at trying to integrate teams more, trying to increase communication, increase cooperation to kind of, so it's not just like people, in different parts of the world working on their own projects. We need to try to create and improve the node we already have so that people can seamlessly work together across the world too on their projects, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be the next level. People don't have pen pals anymore. Pen pals were super cool when I was young, and you would meet people on the other side of the world, and you get these letters back from people that were living totally different lives, and to
And you waited weeks at a time sometimes to get that letter because of the snail mail.
Yeah. So now you got to wait maybe like 5 seconds.
And then you complain that there's a 5-second lag.
Yeah. But in some ways, like kind of reformatting the event so people can it empowers people to meet each other, especially young people. I think that's really important. That young people be able to meet other young people on the other side of the world who are doing the same thing but are very different. And in some ways, I think that could make the world a little better in some small way. To kind of give kids a bit more of a global perspective. It could happen so much more efficiently.
Absolutely. Yeah. And deconstruction is definitely a force in, facilitating this, this global community that seems to be getting smaller all the time. There's a lot of different people working on this, and what you're doing with this, what we're doing with this, the whole team here, it's just and the other teams around the world, has been super inspiring for me getting involved in this, and I'm going to take that inspiration with me, and that's going to plug into other things that I do, and it kind of snowballs, So this event, it's not ending in 2 hours. Everyone involved, I think, is taking something from this that I think is going to inform everything they continue to do, as with any super inspired collaboration like this, So thank you for doing this.